that feeling you get when you've been playing small for so long, you almost forget what it feels like to feel powerful? Yeah, that's the energy we're reclaiming today. Because this episode, it's not surface, it's not fluffy, it's deep, fierce, and energetically charged. I've got an incredible guest with me today, Theresa Nguyen. She's an energy and sound therapist, a well being thought leader, and yes, a dragon channel. And before you raise an eyebrow, just wait, because the way Theresa works with dragon energy to help people move through trauma, reclaim their voice, and rise into their true power, it's unlike anything you've ever heard before. This isn't about spiritual fluff or pretending everything's okay. This is about tapping into something ancient, primal, and deeply personal to ignite your healing journey from the inside out. So if you've been feeling stuck, burnt out, or like you've forgotten who the hell you are, get ready to rise. This one's for the part of you that refuses to stay small. Theresa, thank you so much for joining us. Your work is so fascinating, and I'm really excited to dive into it today and talk about all things energy, healing, and transformation. So I want to start just by learning a little bit about your background. Can you just tell us about your journey? How did you become an energy and sound healer? And what led you to this path?
It was never an interest that I had. I was not ever curious about it. It came up sort of during a Halloween reading. So we're recording this on Halloween. And it was actually on this day about 12 years ago, I went to like a seance at a haunted house. A friend told me about a medium and he was doing readings for people. And I thought it was just going to be this spooky, fun Halloween experience. So I went out of curiosity with another friend. And we came and the house was definitely haunted. And there was about 10 to 12 people. We each got a reading. So when it came to my turn, the medium, he had shared that my grandmother on my mom's side had come through. I had never met her. My mom, she also doesn't remember her because her mom died when she was very young. So there wasn't a lot that I could validate other than just trusting that this was who he was talking about. But the message came on very, like it was very, what do you call that? Direct. It was very direct in terms of, he talked about stepping into my spiritual gifts and that I would become a healer and that I wouldn't need to go and research or learn anything, that it would just come to me very naturally. And my grandmother talked about ancestral healing and being like this key to unlock the gifts and basically that I would be walking the path and join those who came before me. And so it was just like this big, huge, magnificent message, but none of it resonated with me because that's not where I was in my life. But the message was very clear. And, I never forgot about it. It's just that I never acted on any of it really. And so in a way, I was sort of disappointed because I didn't relate to it at all, even after what he shared with me. And it was funny because he was like, are you aware of like anything that I'm talking about? Like, is this something that, kind of interests you? And I was just like, not really. And he was like, oh, well, it's okay. Maybe one day, maybe one day it'll make sense to you. I'm a nurse by background. So a lot of what he was saying was what didn't feel real to me because there wasn't evidence. I needed data. I needed evidence. I needed proof. So that was me at that time, very analytical and logical and evidence-based.
Totally relate.
Yeah. But I was in my first year of entrepreneurial exploration and I was doing well in my business, but I had hit this plateau. And so I thought, well, maybe I could hire like a psychic or something to help me, kind of get past these energetic blocks that I'm having because I was doing all the strategy, the marketing, I was hiring coaches and like I couldn't get past whatever was keeping me from growing. So I will say that my journey to where I am today started through entrepreneurship. And it was because I wanted to grow my business that I ended up getting a little bit more interested in energy. Because even though I was doing everything right by the book, nothing was moving for me. So I was open to the idea of something that I could not see is keeping me from the success that I desired so much. And through sort of that exploration, basically hired spiritual mentors who eventually took me through, a decade of training. And I remember the first year I worked with one, she was helping me understand my intuition, trust my intuition. And one day, it was like a Saturday morning, I went into my room and I was just like, I plopped myself on the bed on my back. And I just like closed my eyes. And I remember putting my forearm over my eyes like this. And I saw this like little tiny white dot. And I just kept my eyes closed because I was like, oh, I'm kind of curious about that dot. And as in my mind's eye, as I continued to focus on the dot, it slowly became like this little white light. And then it had like a ring around it and then another ring around it. And it was like my third eye, was opening up. And the initial eye was green. And
That's so cool.
yeah. And I was like, this is weird. I'm like, this is so weird. I've never had this happen. So then I took my arm off. I was like, okay, let's try this again. And I did it again. I'm like, I had to be sure, I did it again. And the second time, the same thing, the little dot, and it grew, but this time was the color blue. So, things kind of moved, I would say, very steadily. It wasn't like a quick wake up for me. It was very slow and steady because I think it had to be that way. I wasn't very accepting or trusting of the things that I experienced. And so there had to be a lot of synchronicities and sort of repeated events over and over again for me to believe it, for me to trust it, for me to accept it. And then, so we're going to fast forward now to the dragon energy part of it. I was in Mount Shasta. I keep losing track of time. It's like right after COVID, right after they opened up, travel. And I was part of the support team. And I remember my friend, who's the main facilitator, telling me that there was going to be a sound bath on the first night. And immediately, I just felt in my body that I was going to experience something. And I told her that. I said, I think something's going to happen to me that night. I don't know what it is, but I have a feeling something's going to happen. So just keep an eye on me, And so there's about roughly 20 other women at this retreat, and we were together for a week. We walk into the yurt the first night for the sound bath, and my heart starts to race and it won't stop. It's pounding out of my chest. I don't understand why I'm so nervous because, when I told her I knew something was going to happen, it wasn't like the first thing that I thought of. It was just like I was actually looking forward to the sound bath and I wanted to just relax and feel peace. But instead I felt the complete opposite. And I thought it was very strange because there was nothing that I could think of in that moment that would have caused me to feel so stressed, my body to feel so stressed, or, what would have caused those palpitations in my chest. So I thought, okay, well, whatever this is, like maybe the sound bath will just calm me down. So I laid down and the sound bath facilitator starts to drum. And every time she hits that drum, the energy inside me just grows and it gets bigger and bigger and grander and more intense. Meanwhile, she keeps banging that drum and I am trying to hold in this energy, this very unpredictable, unknown, unfamiliar energy that wants to burst outside of me. But there was so much fear there because I'm like, I don't know what this is. Like, am I going to go crazy? Am I going to kill somebody? Just really extreme thoughts of worst case scenario types of things because I didn't feel like I was safe. to be able to let this go, to be able to experience it. But it got to the point where physically I couldn't hold it anymore. So I had to just surrender. And that's exactly what I did. And as soon as I surrendered, I started making all these strange noises with my tongue, with my mouth, with my throat. My body started convulsing. I was making like clicking sounds with my mouth, like, and tongue rolling, and then guttural noises. And there's like, it was just very like, it was like serpent-like. It was primal. It was wild. It was uncontrolled. I couldn't stop it. Every time I stopped it, the energy like resisted so much. And when I started making those noises, my friend, the main facilitator, she came over and she was right there with me and telling me like I was okay. She's like, you're okay, you're okay. So then when I knew that I was being held in a space where nothing bad would happen to me, I completely just let go and I let the energy take over my body. About 5 minutes into it, I looked above me and I saw dragons. And then I realized that that was dragon energy running in my body. And they started using my voice to sing with the sound bath facilitators. They were toning. I was listening to the recording, the audio recording actually of that moment of the sound bath, because my friend actually recorded it on audio. And I was like, oh my God, they were so disruptive. They were loud and they were, at least I didn't feel like it was part of, if I were an attendee and not me experiencing this, I would have felt like this was not part of the sound bath. So anyways, it went on for about 45 minutes, but about 30 minutes into it, my friend tells me, okay, well, they're wrapping up, and I was telling her, I can't stop this. Like it's not going to just turn off. And so I asked the dragons to leave and they didn't want to leave, but I didn't command them to leave. It was, okay, that's enough. We're done now. And they were just real excited, like zooming in and out of my body, just this crazy electrical, wild, primal energy. And then finally, I realized that I had to be much more commanding with it. So I said, that's enough. This is my body. I would like it back. And if you continue to do this, you'll never have this experience again. And that seemed to do it. And so they finally left. But even after they left, it was like my body was still trying to integrate with the energy because it was like, like jerking, and it was like the after effects of all that energy in my body. Like someone plugged me into the outlet into a wall in the wall. And that's pretty much since then I've been channeling dragon energy. Haven't like the medium said, I never really had to do anything or research or, learn. It just happened. I will say, previous to Mount Shasta, I was already practicing as an energy healer and a sound bath facilitator, but it's nothing like what I do now. Like what I do now is so much more expansive. There's so much more energy. There's so much more potency in the spaces that we hold. And so I can see like a huge difference between like the week before I came to Mount Shasta and the week after. But I will say, I hid like for 2 years after what happened in Mount Shasta because I was not brave enough to come out and share with people what happened. And I wasn't courageous enough to be visible as someone who works with dragon energy because no one freaking knows about it. Like there's not a lot of documentation. If you Google, there's like historical facts and things like that, but it's not like this is how you work with it. And this is what it's like to experience it. And these are, these may be the different types of dragons that you might want to work with. There's some of that, but there's not a lot. So it was still very unknown. And what made me feel like I needed to come out of the closet was seeing some people talk about it and not resonating with it at all. And not that they wouldn't resonate with other people, but I just knew like it didn't resonate with me. And I needed to put myself out there for those people who need to hear what I have to share about them and who need to be connected to their dragon guides, but through me. And that's when I started stepping into it more and being more visible and sharing like on podcasts and things like that.
So that kind of leads into my next question. Like you said, this isn't something you hear about every day. This isn't something that you can just Google and learn about. So could you share with us a little bit more, like what is dragon energy and how can it help us? Like, what is it that you do?
So dragon energy is just another type of life force energy, is what I've realized. And it is both masculine and feminine. And what it will do is it will balance whatever it is that you need. So if you lean more towards masculine, divine masculine energy, it's going to bring in the divine feminine. That's very much the case for me and a lot for the women that I work with as well. So I'm seeing a lot of Shakti energy. Shakti also is like life force energy. It's like divine feminine, the power of creation, of change and transformation. So when you encounter somebody who has or who works with dragon energy, you'll literally feel like the energy of this divine feminine. I say it's divine feminine. It's both masculine and feminine, but I'm seeing more feminine coming out in people. There's like a distinct energy. And that's the way I describe it, is like Shakti energy. You can also think of it sometimes. And so Shakti and Kundalini are similar, but different. It also is very Kundalini-like, because Kundalini, for those people who are listening and they don't know, it's a type of Shakti energy and it lies dormant down by your tailbone and it's coiled I think it's like 3 to 4 times or something like that. And when that when the Kundalini energy is released, it moves up your spine, up your main channel and rises through the chakras into your awakening so that you have increased self-awareness, your spiritual gifts start to open, you have a deeper connection with the universe, with source energy, with your spirit guides. What else is it? So we talked about Shakti, we talked about Kundalini, divine, masculine and feminine. It is also like very intense transmutation energy. So you can use the power of dragon energy to do a lot of transmutation. And that's like, just like clearing away. And I see just so much fire, clearing away all of the BS, all of the old patterns, all of the thought forms, all the things that you don't need to process for you to be able to step into your spiritual gifts. It's very activating energy. So back in Mount Shasta's story, towards the end, after everything had happened, I shared with the group that I was channeling dragons. And 3 or 4 of them came up to me later and said, I'd never heard of those sounds, but for some reason it was so familiar to me. And so it's waking up people from their slumber, those, who have dragon energy, but also those who need to activate their light language. So I've had healings where it's like their first time and suddenly they're speaking light language. And once that's opened up, they can speak it, So it's, as I'm working with more and more people, I'm starting to see these themes of what this energy is. Because when I first experienced it, I couldn't really describe it. It was just how I described the story to you, Crystal. It's just wild, primal, crazy energy that was running through my body. But I didn't know what the purpose was until I started using it on people. So that would be like the main things based on my experience is what dragon energy is. Now, how do you work with it? How do you tap into it? Why would you want to? So the easiest way to tap into it is always going to be meditation. But I've also found that shamanic drumming is such a wonderful way to be able to tap into the dragon energy because they're so ancient. And it's just like the beat of the drum. There's something about that just like, I could feel it in my belly right now. There's just something about it that connects you so deeply to be able to access this energy. Anything that has to do with your voice. So if you tone, or if you sing, that is also, or chanting, that those are also really great ways to be able to connect with dragon energy. And then all the other, like, visualization, automatic writing. I would say those are the main ways for you to connect with them. And there's nothing like special that you have to do. Like, you don't have to have this huge prayer or invocation or thing like that. Just your intention is to connect with your dragon guides, those who are of the highest vibration, and allow them to come through and show themselves to you. Or if you can't see them, then know that they're there, or feel that they're there, or sense that they're there. And the benefits of working with dragon energy is that I feel like it moves things so much quicker for you in terms of manifestation and creation. But with that also comes you having to really confront your fears and your old patterns and relationships. And that is the hard work. So even though dragon energy can help things move around faster, that doesn't mean that you get to bypass the healing. But what it does is it brings forth the stuff that you have avoided, and it will bring it to the surface so that you can deal with it. Dragon energy, the dragons I work with, at least, it's not gentle. It's like, sometimes I say they're like bulldozers. That may not be the best way to say it. They're just very assertive and very persistent and very like, let's get down to business. And so for people who maybe want a little bit more gentle energy, probably not the type of energy that you want to work with. Maybe you want to work with archangels instead. They're a little bit more gentle than the dragons. Still powerful, still potent, just a different feeling. So I think I answered the question, right? Tell me if I did.
So much so. So there's a common myth that dragons are evil or dark. And you were just talking about your experience with their energy. What would you like people to know about the true nature?
Yeah. What I want people to know is what you have seen about what dragons are like is only what you've seen, in movies or in the media or in books and in my culture and in your culture, right? But in my culture, dragons are not scary. They're respected. They're revered. They have wisdom. They are powerful. They are energies that are highly respected. So I guess, if you're open to the dragons that I work with, the ones that are, I would say, of the higher vibrations, then I would just allow yourself to kind of set aside your stereotypes, your biases around what you know and have seen. Because the funny thing is, I've never known or seen the bad dragons except for what I've seen in movies created by Americans, for example. Like I don't see bad dragons created by Asian people, dragon movies and things like that by Asian people. Right. And I may be wrong. I'm sure there's some, but that's not what I grew up knowing about dragons. They've always been very powerful and respected, and they have so much wisdom, and they're almost like godlike. We don't worship dragons, but they have sort of that divine presence. Yeah.
Absolutely. Wow. This whole conversation is just mind-blowing for me, and it's resonating on so many levels. Mm-hmm. When you're talking about that fiery, that consistent, like I'm thinking about my kids, specifically my youngest, like she is full of that energy. I just love it. I ask every guest at the end the same question. One of my favorite sayings is, I never lose, I win, or I learn. So if you're thinking back on what your biggest failure in your journey has been, what would that be? And what have you learned from it that you would like to pass along to our listeners?
I would say the pattern of fear of being seen. That has always been the thing that has kept me back. I struggled so much with visibility, not just with the dragon stuff, but all throughout my entire life. Like I did not want to be seen And so I guess my advice to that is I've realized too that every time I had a big fear, it was an indication and a sign for me to move towards that fear. For example, public speaking. I was deathly, like many people, deathly afraid of public speaking. And instead of being afraid of it my entire life, I ended up hiring a coach and speaking on stage in New York City. And it was then when I started speaking on that stage, like it felt like it was the most natural thing for me, even though my whole life I feared it. And so that to me is so empowering because it's like you're learning more about yourself, even though sometimes you think you know a lot already. You're learning so much more about yourself and how freaking powerful you are. So when you can follow that fear and move towards it and actually understand what it is that what it is that fear is telling you and then act on it, it will be some of the most powerful moments in your entire life.
I love it. I love it. For someone who is interested in exploring this type of healing and getting started to work with you, how could they do that?
Lots of ways. We have monthly full moon dragon energy healing sound sessions that we do via Zoom. So you can find that all on my website. And then I do private sessions. I am doing a light language course, helping you to open up your throat chakra. A lot of that also is using dragon energy to be able to help you clear those blocks and be able to express. I'm doing a retreat on November 22nd to 24th in the Dallas area. And then I'm launching a Dragon Priestess training in January of 2025. So a lot of different ways, a lot of different price points. So for people to be able to afford something at a lower price point and those who want to work more intimately with me.
Beautiful. And you brought a little special something for everybody who's listening today, I heard. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about your gift?
Yes. Okay. So as I was doing these dragon energy sound healings, a lot of people asked me if I had like a collection of them. And so what I decided to do was I call them dragon journeys, where it's the dragon channeling, the sound healing, and then also layers of other frequencies and vibrations. It's almost like it's not a playlist, but it's like intuitively created sound journey filled with lots of different energies, vibrations, and frequencies to help you in a particular. But the one that I would like to gift to everyone is, meeting your own dragon guide. So helping you to meet your dragon guide. And it's a little bit more gentle. So I think that it'll be good for anyone.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And I will have the link for that in our show notes, so everyone can grab that and the link to connect with you.
Yeah. Awesome.
Theresa, thank you so much for being here and for sharing your wisdom and your story and your heart with us today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Crystal, for having me. Bye, everybody.
I know a lot of our listeners are going to walk away from this episode feeling inspired to reconnect with their own power. So, mamas, if you're feeling like you've lost your spark or your strength, I want you to remember you have this hidden power inside of you. It's just waiting for you to tap into it. As Theresa has shown us today, healing isn't just about getting through. It's about rising stronger and becoming the version of yourself you are always meant to be. I want to thank Theresa again, and mamas, make sure you grab her free sound healing journey. Such a powerful tool for those who are ready to get started with their own dragon guides. All right, mamas, that's all we have for today. Remember, you are stronger than you think. You are never alone, and you're doing the work not just for yourself, but for your kids too. Keep breaking those cycles. Keep showing up for yourself, and I'll see you back here next week. Woo! Take a breath, because this isn't just about pushing through or keeping your head down. This is the season of stepping up, of making moves. And the move is breaking the pattern, choosing differently, learning to trust yourself enough to stop, recalibrate, and move with intention. Breaking cycles, not just for you, but for the generations that come after you. If this episode resonated, please send it to someone who needs it, because real conversations deserve to be heard. And if you enjoyed today's episode, I'd love for you to leave a review on Apple or Spotify. It helps us reach more people who are ready to step it up. Listen, if you're not just here to survive, but to build something real, whether it's in your life, your leadership, or your business, let's connect. Whether you want to work with me, book me as a speaker, or learn how to build a brand that actually aligns with your purpose, head over to crystalcasey.com/links. Everything you need is there. And remember, you were never meant to just keep going. You were meant to break the cycle, build something real, and reclaim your power. Keep leading, keep creating, and I'll see you back here next Tuesday.